Well, today, guys, it's time for a story.
To see what your insides look like.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your favorite mask collector's favorite mask collector, AJ Good, here at the House of Masks, where we unbox and review cool stuff almost every single day, but not today.
Not today, Satan.
That is right. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, today I am here to tell you guys a story. And this is a story that I have probably told hundreds of times over the course of my lifetime, whether it be to an individual on their own or whether it be in countless videos over the years. But I realized the other day that I've never made a dedicated video specifically on this subject matter or this story. Like I said, I've probably mentioned this in countless videos, but I have never just done a video on the story, and I figured what better time than right now, because I am currently trapped in the church. We are on a level 3 snow emergency. It is literally illegal to drive, which I would never do.
2 seconds earlier.
Driving through the snow, sitting over the hills we go, getting extendo when
So I figured now was as good a time as ever. Someone asked me this question the other day, and I got to thinking, I don't think I've ever made a video specifically on this story. So sit back, relax, and let me tell you guys what got me into mask collecting. So there you go. The question is, what got me into mask collecting? What got you into this? It is a question that is as old as time, and it's a question that I have been asked probably 1,000 times in my life at this point. And I remember pretty much everything from childhood to this very day when it comes to my mask collecting journey, which essentially gave me my life. I mean, mask collecting is my life. It is my career. It is my passion. It is my hobby. It is pretty much my everything. So today, I am going to give you guys the full story on what got me into this, okay? So, my story starts all the way back in the early 90s, and I do believe that the first mask-related memory that I have and that I can personally remember is when I was around 4 years old, and that memory is watching Halloween 4 with my grandpa. Now, I do remember seeing some Friday the 13th and some even older horror movies such as The Invisible Man, but I do believe that Halloween 4 was the first one that really stuck with me, and I may have watched that before we got to the Friday the 13th movies with Jason. I just remember Michael Myers and Halloween 4 and being absolutely terrified, and for some reason, I had to sleep in the basement that night. Now granted, that is where my bedroom was at my grandparents' house when I was a kid, so when I would visit, that is where I slept. I slept in my room. It wasn't like I was just downstairs sleeping in some sort of weird cellar or anything, but the fact that my mind had been opened to this whole Michael Myers Halloween thing really changed my thought process about being down in that basement. So I was absolutely terrified, but I was enthralled and intrigued and interested and invested in this character that I just saw for the first time, Michael Myers. Now, my grandpa is responsible for more than just the Michael Myers aspect of this. For instance, I love wrestling. I love old Attitude Era WWF stuff, specifically Kane being my main dude. I mean, Stone Cold will forever be my favorite, but Kane is definitely a close second, and he is the more theatrical out of my favorite wrestlers. So Kane was definitely a big part of that, and I watched Monday Night Raw with my grandpa every single week, and that was just a highlight. I loved The Undertaker, and I loved Kane specifically, and Kane was absolutely terrifying, but enthralling. And again, that's just another part to this whole thing. You guys know, or maybe you don't know, that I have a dedicated vintage Halloween shop here at the House of Masks that is called Dino's, and it is just a faux vintage Halloween shop. It's a vintage mask shop, and a lot of my grandpa's old pieces are housed in that display. So I have a lot of my grandpa's original old masks that he used to keep in the basement for Halloween in that little display, and that is just another big part of this. I can vividly remember trick-or-treating and my grandpa doing this really weird, what I thought was super innovative thing, where he would have two masks on a table, like one of those fold-out tables or whatever, and then he would have his head poking through the middle of the same table, and he would have a mask on so that he matched the other two masks, and when people would come up to get candy while trick-or-treating, he would talk and scare them and jump, and it was just super, super cool, and I ended up with those masks. I ended up taking those masks the further into maskdom that I got, but I guess we'll get to that a little bit later in the story, but I had to start with the Michael Myers thing and my grandpa because he is very, very much responsible for opening this can of worms, and it only got bigger and badder after this because shortly after discovering Halloween and Michael Myers, I discovered Slipknot. Now, I can remember this day as vividly as any. I was about 6 years old. It was early 2000, and I was flipping through a Rolling Stone magazine because my grandma used to own a hair salon, and she would have these Rolling Stone magazines delivered for clients to read while they were waiting in the lobby. I was flipping through this because I was really big into Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock back in the day, and you can bet that Rolling Stone always had some sort of article on Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock. However, everything changed one day as I was flipping through this very specific Rolling Stone, and I turned to a page that featured self-titled Slipknot. The image of each of these guys in these masks pushed up against this wood panel wall is ingrained into my brain. It will never, ever, ever leave. I could probably draw it right now just from memory. It was just perfect. I absolutely fell in love, and I hadn't even heard the band yet. So, after trying to read the article and not doing very well because the subject matter of the article just didn't make a whole lot of sense to my 6-year-old brain at the time, I begged my mom to let me listen to a song. Oddly enough, this was one of the only times in my life that we ever had a home computer with internet, and my mom agreed to let me listen to Wait and Bleed. She went in, she got on Yahoo Launch. I remember it being Yahoo Launch specifically because I got on Slipknot's Yahoo Launch page every single day to look at the same 5 pictures of the band and listen to the same 2 songs that they had on their webpage, but it was Yahoo Launch, and she pre-watched Wait and Bleed and then told me that I was allowed to watch Wait and Bleed. Well, let me tell you, from the second that that song started playing, actually, before the song even started playing, when Corey was just talking, everything from his voice to the words that he was saying, to the way that his mask looked, to the jumpsuit, to the filter that was on the video, it was absolutely perfect, and I knew that right then and there, even as a 6-year-old child, that my life had changed. And boy, oh boy, was I right about that intuition. So, I watched the Wait and Bleed video probably 100 times that day, and I'm just absolutely hooked. And I get the bright idea that I want a mask. And I didn't care what kind of mask it was. I didn't have anything in mind. I just wanted a mask. Any sort of mask that was going to fall into my life at that point was going to be the mask for me. And for some reason, my parents said, hey, you know what? Your Uncle Shipley probably has a mask laying around. And I don't know why they thought that he would have a mask laying around, but they were confident enough that he had one laying around that they let me call him and ask him if he had any masks that I could have, and sure enough, he said, you know what? I think my parents have a gas mask up in the attic. If I can dig it out, I'll bring it over to you. Now, looking back on this, it's probably the weirdest thing in the world for this kid to be calling you and asking you for a mask, and it's probably something that he could have easily brushed off, and I would have forgotten about, and he would have forgotten about, and nothing would have ever happened. But Shipley is such a good dude that he actually went up to the attic, found the gas mask, and then brought it over to my house that evening and gave it to me. And to my surprise, this was the same exact gas mask that was used by Sid Wilson in the Wait and Bleed music video. So my little kid brain was exploding. I just couldn't believe it. I realized right then and there that these incredible masks that I had never seen anything like before in my life were actually obtainable. Now, granted, the internet wasn't what it was. I was also a very young kid, and we definitely did not have money, so it wasn't like I could research the way that I wanted to, or I could afford to buy certain masks, and I didn't even have access to figure out what these things were. I mean, these forums didn't really exist, Facebook groups weren't a thing, and I'm not even sure if eBay was around in 2000. Regardless, I still managed to get lucky here and there, because Shipley did hook me up with yet another mask later on that ended up being close enough to a Joey Jordison mask to make me happy, and he made it that much more legit when Iowa came out, because he ended up coming over to my house and Sharpieing the Left Behind design on the mask for me, so I officially had a Joey Jordison mask, and I took that thing with me everywhere. I remember taking that thing to school in my backpack all the time, just being in like 3rd grade and being so stoked that I had this mask in my book bag. I would wear it in the car. It was just the most autistic thing that you could imagine. And then I come to find out that my dad actually had a Forums Novelties Jester before Jim ever even used it with Slipknot. It took me a minute to put that one together, but I did end up getting on, I think, the school library computer and figuring out that Jim actually used the Jester mask that we had shoved in a closet for his mask conversion of the self-titled and Iowa eras. And I am so thankful that my dad did not let me convert that mask, because I really, really wanted to, and he was like, no, I don't think so. And that was definitely the right call, because I would have absolutely butchered that thing. Now, fast forward quite a few years. We are leaving 2001, and we are going to get to around 2010. Not much has happened over these years in the wake of collecting for me, because again, we just didn't have the resources to figure out how to get these masks, and then even if we did figure out how to get them, we didn't have the money. My parents were not going to drop $250 on a mask for me. That just was never going to happen ever. However, around 2010, we did end up getting a new home computer. This was the first time that we had had a home computer since the late 90s and early 2000s. And by this point, YouTube was a thing. So one of the first things that I started looking up on YouTube was Slipknot masks. And I found this weird, small, detached community of people uploading really, really pixelated videos, probably from their flip camera phones, of their Slipknot mask collections. And man, I was so excited. I just wanted to know how to get in touch with these guys, how to start buying things, how to trade with them, whatever I needed to do to add some of these pieces to my collection. So I took it upon myself to start uploading videos of my collection, and I ended up making friends with some of these dudes and making trades, and the rest is history. My YouTube channel went from 15 or 30-second videos with absolutely no talking, just kind of showing off a new mask that I would get, to my 4 or 5 friends that also had YouTube channels, just so they'd be able to see my newest acquisition, to what you guys are seeing today. And if you've been with the channel for a while, then you understand we have come a long way. I don't even really know what to say about that. I mean, we have a festival. We've had multiple physical locations. We have the biggest mask collection in the world. We are working with our favorite artists. I mean, the House of Masks is as legit as it could ever possibly be, and I am eternally grateful for everything that ever had kind of a play in this story. Now, this is a quick summarized version. I was lucky enough to live this story, but I figured since I had never made a video telling the story of exactly how I got into this, that I should probably do that, right? So there you go. There is a short story long about how I got into mask collecting. Now, I want to hear from you guys, because you're here for a reason. And there's probably a pretty good chance that that reason is collecting. So if you are a collector, let me know your story down below. What got you started? And it doesn't even have to be masks. Whatever you guys collect, I am interested in hearing it, and I want to know the story on how that came to be. So let me know your story down in the comments. I'm very much looking forward to hearing from you guys, and I'll meet you down there for a general discussion, okay? Now, with all of that being said, we are pretty much good to go on this video, but before we go, I want to talk to you guys about something pretty important that could definitely benefit your collection. And that is this bad boy right here, because I am giving this thing away, and the rules to enter the giveaway are super, super easy. You just go over to my Patreon, which will be linked in the description as well as the pinned comment to make it nice and easy to find, and you sign up for the $5 or higher patron tier. You just become a patron, and you're automatically entered to win this beautiful Corey Taylor Iowa mask. I will be doing the drawing of the winner for this piece on February 1st on a YouTube live stream. But that doesn't mean that you have until February 1st to sign up. You need to go get those entries in as soon as you possibly can, because it takes me a couple of days to get all of the patron names entered into a random name generator and blah, 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 blah. What I'm saying is, as soon as you're done with this video, go down below, sign up for the Patreon, and hopefully you will win this beautiful Corey Taylor Iowa mask. It is super, super accurate. It comes straight out of my collection. I have had this thing for quite a while, and it's a really, really good mask. I just thought that this would be a beautiful way to give back to the people that support the channel that extra mile, okay? So, patreon.com/thehouseofmasks, $5 or higher, and you're automatically entered to win this bad boy, okay? Now, with that being said, we are done with this video. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and thank you for being here with me on the second half of this story. I can't wait to get to, I don't know, like 50 years old and be able to be like, yeah, this was the early days. And you guys get to be here for that. So, thank you again. I appreciate it. And with all of that out of the way, until next time, this has been AJ Good here at the House of Masks telling you to say no to drugs and alcohol and yes to collecting. And we will see you guys in the next one.